All right, we are back. We're live. We're going to be looking at some Roku stuff today. I know a lot of you like Roku stuff, so we're going to get cooking on this in a second. Just give me a minute here. I got to add a couple of things to my Amazon queue, and then we're going to do our thing. Hope you all are doing well. I am doing well. Been very busy this week. I was actually ahead of the game on content. I was so excited, but I had all this stuff pop up, good stuff that I've been working on. So there you go. Okay, let me start the Amazon stream here, and we're going to unbox this stuff, and then we're going to set up the Roku Express 4K. Start running it through its paces and making some notes on things that I want to cover in the review. And I also got in their new remote. These, by the way, came in free of charge from Roku. They usually send us their new stuff when it comes out. And you all know I love inexpensive stuff, so I like reviewing these kinds of things. And this remote is interesting to me because it's a voice remote, and you don't need to push the button. So it's got like a voice remote finder thing. It's got a rechargeable battery. It's got the headphones, so you can plug the headphones in for private listening, and it's $30. So in some cases, it might cost more than your Roku, but it's a good remote. It's a nice add-on, so it's neat. All right, let me say hello to some friends because everybody's popping in here. So let's start at the bottom of the list here. Let's see, I may have missed a page already. No, I haven't missed a page yet. Okay, so let me start. Oh, now I missed a page. Let's get our first greeting up. Labi Tech is here. Joe Tyson is with us again from Apex, North Carolina. Romeric is always one of the first ones in from, I believe, from Paris. Adam is here. Versified is here. The moderator's in the house, Mark Dell. Mr. L, Mr. S, you can call me whatever you want. I'm easy. It's my daughter's mug. She made this when she was in kindergarten, I think. Who else we got here? We've got Brick Johnstone. We have the Node. Hello. Adam pre-ordered the remote and loves it. Yeah, I love the private listening on Roku. I think they were one of the first to do that. My NVIDIAs do that also. But I've been considering for my main, hello, William Wilkerson. What I've been considering doing is taking my NVIDIA Shield on my main TV and swapping it out for a Roku because I don't get Apple TV Plus on my NVIDIA Shield. And that's been bugging me because I had to like go in the other room to watch. I had to watch For All Mankind on my Xbox. Now I do have an Apple TV, but it wasn't hooked up, and I'm out of Ethernet ports. I got so much stuff hooked up, so I'm like, I just want to watch the show. It's a pain. I'm getting in the Apple TV also. Why not? Just keep them coming. Yeah, no YouTube TV on that Roku for the moment. That's true. Yeah, and so Mark Dell comments on that too. Yeah, that's the one thing you can't watch on it. It plays everything else. Eric Fox is here. I got the new Ultra and love it. Was thinking about getting the Express 4K for your camper. Oh, perfect. Yes, this is. I think the Express is a good product. I've looked at these before. They're the least expensive. They used to have an Express. I don't think they make it anymore. But the low-end Express Plus or whatever would work with old CRT televisions. They had an RCA cable for it that came in the box. So that really added some value. Chris Allegretta is thinking about resubscribing to a streaming TV service, but I don't know about all these things going on. Yeah, the pricing on those is expensive. And I was tweeting to a friend of mine today about this because I think that the model that YouTube TV and Hulu with their TV channel thing, it's an outdated model because you're being forced to pay for channels that you're not going to watch. Unless you watch them all, then it's got a value proposition. But you know, you look at all the must-carry stuff that they have to deal with and how the price of YouTube TV went from something very affordable to something very expensive in a short period of time. It's because you're subsidizing all these networks. And, you know, I think the low-cast model is the one that I'm excited about if they survive the lawsuit. Because I like the idea of just getting my local channels streamed to me, and then I can, you know, subscribe to whatever I want beyond that. We have Discovery Plus now. I get it through my Verizon phone, and I don't watch it that much. My wife loves it because she gets all the stuff that she wants me to pay for is on Discovery Plus. So I saved a bunch of money with that. Morgan H is in on the Amazon chat. Says, less interested in the 4K. Where can I get that Mac SE? You know something? This is an SE30. That's like the Cadillac of its day. That thing was like $5,000, black and white when it came out because it had the 68030 processor. Mafa, is this a new Roku product? Yes, this is new and this is new. And they have a new sound bar that they came out with also. I'm going to try to get one of those in. Joe Tyson, yes, very true that you were always killing the batteries when you had the earbuds installed on the Roku Ultra. When I was using a Roku Ultra before my NVIDIA Shield, I was always killing the batteries, and I would have rechargeables that I would put in the remote because you get a couple of days out of it, and then it would go, right? So I think this one has a rechargeable in it. So that'll be fun to play around with that. Labby loves the mug. Yeah, this is a one-of-a-kind mug. Chris Allegretta got hit up on these also. His kids did the same thing, right? Mark Dell was thinking about switching to Hulu Live because it gives, yeah, he doesn't like giving money to Google. Well, hopefully you can keep watching me on YouTube at least, right? Marius is here. Hello. Remix is here. Here's a good point from Mafa. You don't need the remote if you have a smartphone because you can do private listening with a Roku through the Roku app on your phone from your Roku that's plugged into the television. And that works exceptionally well. It's fun when you start it too because you can see how they delay the video to get everything in sync. It works really well. So yeah, you got to give these folks credit. They've done it right. And you know what's neat about it too is I think Roku has kind of been, they've been really, I think, focused on making a video player. Remember they tried to get into gaming, but they never really got there. I think you can still download the games. They still have a little bit of that game controller kind of layout on the controller here, but they never went beyond their core focus. TJ and Kim are watching on the Roku HD TV right now. BB Garnett, hello. Chris Allegretta is thinking about going through, yeah, it's all that stuff you got to engineer. It's tricky. It's really tricky. SC Scout Guy has been on the roof all morning using a compass and TV full report to install 2 new antennas pointed in different directions. Awesome, that's working. Hopefully it's working for you. I got to get somebody up on my roof to do it. I'm not skilled enough to drill holes in my house and stand on my roof without falling. But I'm going to probably bring somebody over to do all that work because I'm getting a Starlink dish next week as my backup internet in case the internet here goes. And we're going to do a whole bunch of content on it next week when I get it. Because I've got like a month of service and then I'm going to cancel it for the short period of time. So I need to get somebody on my roof. And I may as well get the Starlink antenna up there and my TV antennas, right? Versified says, I'm guessing the Roku Express 4K Plus is lower than the Roku Premier. I don't know if they're making... That's been... You know, Roku has often had, and I've done videos about this. Let me see if I can find what the product breakout is now. Yeah, so they've simplified this quite a bit. So let me get my my vMix thing up here and I can show you what it's looking like now. Because what they've done is this. Let me pull this up here. Let's go to my computer. Bear with me for a second here, folks, and I'm going to show you do some visual guides to the current Roku product line. I may have to do an updated video on all the different options that you have. So the Premier is no more. So the entry level now is the Roku Express. It's 1080p. It doesn't support the analog TVs anymore. So if you got a CRT, you're going to need to get some additional adapter. But that one is now like 25 bucks. The Roku Express 4K is the one we're looking at now. It's about $40. That's the 4K Plus. The Streaming Stick Plus, now we're getting into that area where, what's the difference, right? The Streaming Stick Plus is the same price. It's on sale, but usually it'll be $10 more. And then you've had the Ultra at 100 bucks, and then you've got the 2 stream bars. And then there's some reseller exclusives that are only available at certain retailers. So that's kind of the breakdown. So there's no more Premier. but the Premiere is still going to work. So that's how that goes. Let's take a few more questions, then we'll start unboxing because I've got to be done in about an hour and a half. Do I know when the Roku Ultra 2020 throws a 2.2 error when connecting to a 4K HDR smart TV? My guess would be HDCP, the copy protection. And if you've got an older 4K television, sometimes not all of the ports support the copy protection. So you want to look on the TV and see if it says HDCP 2.0 or whatever on it. Because not all, you could have an older 4K TV that doesn't support the 4K copy protection. I think I've got one upstairs somewhere. So check that out. Mafa wants to know, how can we be a paid subscriber? If you go to Lon.TV/support, you can sign up on my donor box page. But if you click the join button on YouTube, that works too. So I appreciate your willingness to support the channel. Thank you. And that's this is from our earlier discussion that the content providers are forcing all these channels. Exactly. That is the problem. Give me 1 second here, folks. I'm just going to pull up a few more things, and then we'll get to do some unboxing here. Alan has the Premiere model, but it always seems to overheat. These things are practically disposable now at the prices they're selling them at, right? The Brand Tech is here. Stephen Morris is here. Hello. Thank you for joining us. Does that Roku audio thing work on the other inputs, or is that just dreaming? I believe that's just dreaming. I think it's only going to work with the Roku's audio output. Dave for Schmups, can you get your iTunes songs on an Android phone? Don't they have Apple Music for Android? I think you might be able to pull your stuff in that way. And if not, what I would do is download all of the songs, because none of them have copy protection anymore. Download them all and copy them over. That's what I would do. Owner Eric Brett says, brand new TCL Roku 6. Yes, this will work with the Roku TVs. It will do that. Will it give you TV? Yes. So you can do voice commands with this remote on other Rokus, and apparently it supports all of the Roku TVs. So here's the compatibility list here. So Roku TV, Roku players, and Roku audio devices. It doesn't support all of the Roku devices because they've been around for 12 years, but most of the current ones will work with it. And I think there is a list. Let me check on their website here. Let's go to accessories, and we'll go and look at the Remote Pro. I think there's a list here somewhere of which Rokus it supports. Yeah, see compatibility. Here we go. And I'll pull this up for you all to see. All right, so it supports all of these Roku players. So it goes back as far, wow, this goes way back. It goes back to the Roku 2. That's like super old. And the Premiere and the streaming sticks. And then on the Roku TV, it says it supports all models. And it will turn on the television. And then it's not a universal remote, but it supports HDMI CEC. Let's see what else we can get answered here before we start taking these things out of their boxes. And Travis likes both. Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you are. I think the Fire stuff is a very strong competitor because of the price point and the functionality. And I would say the advantage, I would put the advantage of the Fire Sticks in the arena of being able to load apps on them, because the Fire TV devices run Android, and if you wanted to mess around with games and stuff, that would work. Abel B wants to know, would the remote work with a TCL TV? It will work with the TCL TV if it is a Roku TCL TV. I think they have an Amazon version too. So it's got to be the Roku version, but it works with all Roku TVs according to their guide here. And actually, I'm going to put this into my notes on the product so that I can make sure that's in the review when we do it. I actually got on the extras channel a lot of traffic on that generic Roku remote, so that was pretty useful. Sheepy007, I stopped watching TV ages ago. I'm in the same boat as you, Sheepy. I watch a couple of things on the streaming channels. My wife is the TV watcher in the house, but I'm more of a YouTube person myself. I watch a bunch of people my age talking about video games and cars. So that's it. Nicholas Cheney still has his Roku 2 from 2012. Yeah, it still works. Why not? And this remote will work with it. That's crazy. I wish I had. I don't think I have a Roku 2. I need to check. I might have one sitting in the back somewhere. I think I might have sold it a while ago. But Sandy Morris wants to know, is the Remote Pro better than the old voice remote? Yes, in 3 ways. And I'm going to have to answer this question in the review too. Because, first of all, rechargeable battery. Secondly, I don't know if the other one had private listening. If it did, then that's a parallel. But rechargeable battery, this will work as a voice search without having to push a button. So you can just do I think it's called Hey Roku, and it will do a search without the need to push a button. And then you could find the remote by asking the remote where it is, provided your dog doesn't take it out of the room. I had a friend whose dog would like just steal the remote and bury it in the backyard and stuff. Joseph Barbado here says, I wish the shortcut buttons could be remapped. Yeah, what's interesting is that these 2 buttons here, 1 and 2, can be remapped. But these 4 buttons, and we'll see what agreements they reached with different streaming people on this when we open it up. But the other 4 buttons here are reserved real estate that they sell for top dollar. That's part of their revenue strategy. Roku makes about $28 per account on these boxes. So their revenue is not from selling you this, it's to getting this hooked up to your TV, and then they can make money from that relationship. Photomix Media has some help on the 2.2 error. It only comes up from the Roku Ultra when the resolution is set to 4K with HDR. It's so annoying, it comes every few seconds. Yeah, I'm guessing it's got to be something related to HDCP. I could be wrong, but that could be what it is. Actually, Photomix says it's a new TV. I would check the cables. See if the cable, swapping out the cable might help. Nicholas Cheney in Connecticut. Yeah, I heard that they've been looking to put fiber in different parts of the state. Yeah, I think it's a good deal if it works. And it's no data caps, so I'm excited about that. I don't think they're coming out to my neck of the woods, but we'll have to see. Eric Fox says, thanks, everything. Yes, in the chain, that's another thing. If you're going through a receiver, the receiver's got to support HDCP too. That's right. Eric Brett says, how many years of support and updates do Rokus get? I'm pretty sure they keep updating these things for a long time, right? Let's see how, I'm just looking this up. I don't know the answer to that question. I'll try to find out. But we have somebody watching right now who's got a Roku 2. It's still working. And SC Scout Guy says his Roku 3 is still going strong. And Garton Nelke says from the UK, yeah, this is a good time for the UK. It's a good time for me too, because this is my afternoon work period. So this works great for me and everyone not in the US. Although I get a lot of people who are watching me at work. They just like to have me on in the background. All right, I'm going to take a few more questions, then we got to open this thing up here. Ken Drigger's got a 5900X plus RTX 3800 RAID Samsung 90. Well, that sounds like a monster. Wow, that is crazy. That's a monster right there. There's a lot of stuff in that thing. Travis says, it blows my mind that Roku supports VP9, but the NVIDIA Shield doesn't. You would think, considering the Google, yeah, you would think that. That's the thing. This is getting so fragmented. It's crazy. Frank Cromer on the Amazon chat says his 3 or 4-year-old Ultra just got the latest update, the Roku OS 5. All right. I'm missing a whole bunch of questions here, but I got to start unboxing stuff here and get to work. So let's do that. So we're going to take the remote out of the box first, because I am curious as to what it looks like. And then we're going to set up the Roku 4K and go from there. Now, we got a remote control here. We got some guides and whatnot. And this is the quick start guide. So what we've got to do is press the home button on your current remote or free, oh my goodness. Oh, press and hold the hold button on your current Roku remote or the free mobile app for 5 seconds to open the setup menu. I see. Okay. That's easy enough. Well, it should be pretty easy to do. Now, you don't get a power adapter, but you do get a USB charging cable with a nice cable management thing on it. And this is a micro USB to USB-A connector, pretty universal. I'm hoping it comes with a little bit of a charge. And let's take the top of it off here. There is an IR blaster on it. And I would imagine that's for the Express, because I think the Express does not have a radio-driven Bluetooth remote. It needs the IR. Now, one thing that they mentioned is that this remote does not work as a universal remote. So your TV needs to support HDMI CEC for the volume controls to work with your television. So be aware of that. And then there's no battery compartment because the battery is internal. And then this switch here allows you to activate and deactivate the microphone. So if you don't want it always listening, you just switch it to the off position. Hey, Roku. It's not alive yet, so we'll pair it up in a minute and get that going. Hopefully it's not dead. Hopefully we don't have to charge it. I guess I could just plug it in and just have it running plugged in. Now this is something when you've got a remote like this. If you're using the private listening, I would suggest every couple of days, just throwing it on the charger so that you don't run out of juice. Because what tends to happen, this happens to me with my NVIDIA Shield, is that I usually fall asleep after my wife does, so I'm usually watching a couple of YouTube videos at night with my headphones on, and when the battery on the controller dies, when it dies, it just switches back over to the TV, and then you're blasting everybody out of the house. So just be ready for that. All right, so let's take the Roku Express. You have to give them credit. They've got a very good printer here. All their printing is matched. They must have like a spot color, spot Pantone color for everything. Now this, of course, comes with its own remote. Now look at the difference here, right? So on this remote, Netflix, Disney Plus, Sling, and Hulu paid to be on the voice remote. And then on this one, I don't know, I wonder if they have like a big auction for this. But here we've got Netflix, Disney Plus, Apple TV, and Hulu. So Sling, look at this. It's like Sling got pushed out by Apple, right? And they pay for those button positions. And the remotes look very similar to each other. In fact, they are pretty much the same size. Now what this one has, this is the voice remote. You have two buttons here that you can program. So you can't change these buttons, but you can program these two buttons to be shortcuts. So I could, for example, because I don't have an Apple TV Plus button on this one, I could make this one Apple TV Plus if I wanted to. I wonder if you could even do a Star Trek button. So we'll have to do that. Chris Allegretta with a super chat. Thank you, Chris. Can I discuss my appearance on the Metal Jesus Rocks Games I Never Beat video? Yeah, I'm actually going to be on 2 more that he's doing, and I will leave the surprise to all of you as to what the topics will be. But I'm a fan of Metal Jesus, and he's a fan of me, and he asked if I wouldn't mind coming on and answering a question. And I was thinking about it because it was like games you never beat. And it was a recent story because I have a friend who used to live in Connecticut. We went to the same college. I didn't go to college with him. He's a few years younger than me, but I met him afterward through some work stuff. And he's like my kindred spirit animal. We went to the, when we did the SpaceX rocket launch, we went down to that together. And he was my cameraman. He's a space nut like me. His name is Antonio. And he's probably listening right now. He'll probably dial in at some point. And so we went down to Disney, and we went to the NASA launch, but then the launch got delayed like a day and a half, so we had some extra time, so we went to Epcot for the day. We kind of went around Epcot. That was fun. We did the Star Wars VR thing. So anyway, he was up for a different thing. He was coming into town, so he stayed over, and he was curious about the analog NT Mini game console that I have. And while we're chatting here, I'm going to get my monitor set up so we can start playing with this thing. he's like, let's play a game. And I said, well, what game do you want to play? We can play any one of them that ever existed. So he picked Rampage. And it was funny because that game on the NES was one that a friend of mine had as a kid. And it was like, it's just a very repetitive, it's an arcade game. It doesn't do as well in the home market, but it's very repetitive. And so I remember borrowing it from my friend and never actually finishing it. So I said, let's pick a game we can finish. And he was up for doing Rampage. And so we started playing it, and we didn't realize that there's 128 levels in it. And it just went on and on and on. All right. Ken Drigger says, I have a hard time picturing. Yeah, so Metal Jesus, although his name implies that he's a heavy metal fan, which I believe he is, he actually covers video games. So he's a retro video gamer. And what's funny is he's about my age, and he's got exactly the same tastes in games that I do. So it's funny. Like, we both love the Burnout series. We both like all the same old classic games. So it's a good guy. And we're also in this. I should get him on for an interview. Would you all like to watch him if I interview him? But we're in this full-time YouTube gig at the same time. So there's some therapeutic elements to connecting with fellow creators. OK, so now let me show you what else is in the box here. So this is the Express 4K Plus. Now, unlike the stick, this costs about $10 less than the stick. I don't think this supports Dolby Vision, which I believe the stick does. I think this is regular HDR10. I'll double check that. And I'll verify that before the video goes up. And I believe the processor on this one might be a little bit slower. But anyway, in that Metal Jesus video, I was talking about Rampage and how it took so long to finish it. So we've got a few other ones coming up, too, that I'll be on probably next week. Just looking through here to see if it talks about which HDR modes that it supports. By the way, there's one other thing here. So this is a sticker that you can put on the bottom of it here, and that will stick it to the bottom of your TV or whatever. Because this has to be in front of the television in order to work, because there's an IR sensor here. So if you don't have it in front and visible in front of the TV, it's not going to work. Although, let's put a caveat on that, because this connects over Bluetooth. I think this remote does not. Right, because this is not a voice remote. Oh, it is a voice remote. I might be wrong about that. Who the heck knows? Let's just plug it all in and see what happens. There is an IR receiver on the front of it. So now I need to research that. All I know is it needs to be in front of the TV. Let's double check that too, actually, to be certain here. Let's go back to the manual. Let's see. OK, connect to the TV. Yeah, for 4K, you need an HDMI port that supports HDCP 2.2. For the best streaming experience, use the included USB cable and power adapter to connect to your TV or wall outlet. OK. OK, position streaming player. Do not place your streaming player behind the TV. Doing so, oh, OK. So this is to the point on the Roku Premiere that the reason why it needs to be in front of the TV is because it's prone to overheating. Intriguing. What I'm not clear about, I'm just reading through this here. So I'm guessing the reason is less functional now than it used to be, other than the fact that you want to keep it from overheating. So we'll experiment with the remote here and see if you actually need to have it visible there. All right, so we're going to plug this in, the HDMI in here, just like that. And then we're going to connect up the power cable and get that going. And we're going to pair it up initially with the remote that it came with, and then we'll switch over to the other one. It's kind of run through that whole setup process. So we'll just get this plugged in down here. All right, there we go. So now it should start coming up. There you go. Look at that, Roku already, right out of the gate. And while that's going, I'm going to plug in the batteries to get this operational. Yeah, I've been having a hard time getting interviews, just from the standpoint of scheduling. And the other problem with interviews is that everybody has a podcast now. So like when you reach out to some of these, not Metal Jesus, I'm sure he would do it with me, but like some of these other people, I've been trying to get on a few different guests, and it's been really hard because everybody's got a podcast. And just because you have 300,000 subscribers is not, oh, what happened? I just got dumped out of my Amazon thing here. Hang on a second, folks. My Amazon app just like totally crashed on me for the stream. They just updated it, and I got like a authentication error. So we'll get this logged back in real quick so I can take the Amazon comments, and then we'll continue onward here. So give me 1 second while we get that going. I think maybe that update of the app led to an authentication issue. All right, I think we're back in. Bear with me, folks. No, it's not letting me back in. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to watch the, I have to write to them and say, hey, something's not right here. Give me 1 second. I'm going to have to just uninstall the app, I think, and start over again. So I will continue that while I do this. Okay, so the first thing we have to do here is pair up the remote. And there's a pairing button in the battery compartment here. So we're going to push down on this for 5 seconds. And that's going to connect us up, I think. I got the batteries in the right way, don't I? Yeah, it's blinking. There it goes, pairing remote. So it looks like it is a Bluetooth remote here, because before it used to be reliant on IR. Okay, so now we are connected in. And bear with me here, I'm just trying to get into my account again. I have to like uninstall their app and install it again. Okay, so we're going to click English. That's the language that I try to speak most of the time. Oh, it looks like the remote just like lost its connection here. So let's see, the remote doesn't seem to be cooperating here. So both batteries go in positive, up. There we go, remote control is, there we go. I guess I had to reboot the remote. All right, so now we got to connect it to my Wi-Fi network, which I'm going to do here. And I've got to now monitor a bunch of stuff on my computer screen because my Amazon app just dumped me out and I can't participate in the Amazon chat anymore. Not sure what's going on there. Okay, so we're going to go and connect up to my Wi-Fi. It does support AC wireless, so that's good. So I'm just going to type in my wireless password real quick. And so we'll get it on the Wi-Fi. Now on the Ultra, you've got Ethernet as an option. And that usually works pretty well. All right, bear with me for one more second, folks. Let's see if I can troubleshoot this app crashing on me here. And they also changed the color of the icon, so I'm not like seeing it right away. All right, so let's try this again here. Okay, update available. So now we've got to get the latest update of the software. So we're going to let that run for a second. And it's going to restart. Now this should be running with the OS 5.0, which is their new version. So as this is going, I'll answer a few more questions here. Versified's wondering, did I work with Metal Jesus at CEO? No, I actually just I was just a fan of his. Actually, I was watching his videos before I was doing mine. So he was one of the many that inspired me to do this. All right, so this is one of the things I love about Roku, by the way, is they've got a great auto detection feature for figuring out what your TV is capable of supporting. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So we'll hit auto detect. Now this TV, or this monitor, this does not support HDR. So I will have to test the HDR upstairs on my other TV or the one over in the other room later on. And bear with me for one more second here, folks. I'm just going to try to get into this Amazon thing one more time. If it doesn't let me in, I'm going to have to just write to them and see what's going on here. All right. Okay, looks like I am back in. Nope, I'm not in. It logged me into my old account. I don't know what the heck is going on here. Yeah, this is all messed up. All right, one more second here. Sorry, everybody. Okay. Oops, no, I didn't want to do that. Okay, go to automatic. Now it should switch over and I've got to confirm that. Yes, the screen looks good. Power and TV can be controlled with your Roku remotes. Okay. I was going to say yes, even though I don't have a speaker on this thing. So, okay, we're good. All right, so activate your email address to get a, okay, so I have an account already with Roku, so I'm going to do that in a second. Get that going. And bear with me here, folks. Yeah, they just updated this app for the Amazon streaming thing, and it was great when I haven't streamed with it yet. So today's my first day of streaming, and it worked fine initially. But now when I log in, it's giving me an authorization error. Something went wrong. All right, I'm gonna have to write to them and say, hey, something's up. I just don't know how I'm gonna end the stream when it's time to end it. Check one more thing, and then we'll get back to business here. All right, so I need to type in my email address. So this is like the only thing that's a pain with this is that I got to type in my full email address. Let me see what email I use on Roku's website. Oh, great, now everything is logged out. Okay, that's the one I use. Okay. Yes, I'm still logged into Amazon. It's just the I just cannot get in to the other thing here. That's okay. I can still follow the chat. So if you're watching me on Amazon, I can still follow you on the chat, but I cannot log into the app that controls this, unfortunately. So we'll have to keep playing with it. All right, so what I have to do right now is type in my email address. I'm going to get a link to activate the Roku. So let me do that. Now, one thing you got to be careful about with Roku is that there's a bunch of scammers out there who've bought up Google search results, And then they'll say, you know, to activate your Roku, call us at this number, and you should never do that. There's never a reason to call, or you should never be prompted to call Roku for anything, because they handle everything remotely. Now, what will happen with this Roku when I activate it is that it will pull down all of the, oh, great, I just hit the wrong button. So this is the one thing that is such a pain. Like, you would think there's a better way to activate this thing than like using the remote control to get my email address typed in. Because I have an account already. I don't remember doing this before. Maybe I did have to. And I don't have like a standard email address for these accounts. It's on some account that I don't use. It's on a private domain. All right, almost there. The good news is I don't have to type my password in, which is like one of those secure, crazy passwords. Okay, so we hit continue. And then it's going to send an activation link to my email. So I'm going to take a look at that real quick. And then we should be ready to go here. All right, so we're going to click this activation link, and now what should happen is, I'm going to say this is in the office. Click continue. And then here's like the whole onboarding. So this is another thing that I kind of talked about in my weekly wrap-up video the other day. Because what happens here is that you're taken through, you know, this thing about, let's talk about what you want to do. Do you pay for cable or satellite TV? Yes, but I may quit. Let's select that one and see what they have to say. So I'll say I'm with Xfinity. Do you subscribe to any of these services? So I'm with Netflix, I've got Prime, I have Disney Plus, I have Apple TV, and I have Discovery Plus. I think I have Peacock through my Xfinity account. Now, by the way, all of these here are paying to be there during this onboarding process. And then I can say, what are my interests? Well, I love free, so give me everything free. I like some news and weather, maybe. Some local news, yeah, I'll take that. Let's click continue here. And then it's going to make recommendations of things that I can add. But again, these have all of these folks have paid. So when you're talking about the cost or what they earn per box or per user, this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. So I can put Peloton on here, for example, or HGTV to go. Happy Kids, like what's that? But none of this stuff is here like because of by accident, right? Lowcast is on here. That's interesting. But I don't get Lowcast where I am. Okay, so now on the Roku, it is downloading all of the different channels. So we're going to let that do its thing, and we'll come back when that's wrapped up. Alberto wants to know, can you use Plex with the Roku? Yeah, I can show you Plex. We'll get it installed. It's good. It's not, you know, I think the best experience for Plex is going to be on an Android device, because the Roku operating system is still very basic. It plays media just fine, but it doesn't have the same polish that it does on the other stuff. And then, like, if you're into like high-end home theater, you know, when you're doing like 4K Blu-ray movies and stuff, I found the Roku is not the way to go. I think, you know, for the higher-end Plex stuff, your NVIDIA Shield is still the best bet. So we'll have to see where that goes. So Jim Masterson's thinking that maybe they have the IR on the front so older controllers can work with it. That's probably the case. Chris White wants to know, since it's a Bluetooth controller, could it be used with a PC? I don't believe it's compatible with that. There might be some software that lets you do that, but I don't believe it's natively compatible. Joseph, actually, you're right. I probably could have used the app and typed my email address in with the app if I paired it up. Yeah, so that's what Master Billy here said too. Although I think what I just went through is what an average consumer would likely do, right? Because they don't know to do that. Which would be nice if it actually said on there like, hey, activate the app, right? Okay, we're all done. And now, if we go back to the front screen here, I'm going to get my intro video, and it's just going to kind of show you where to find everything. But we'll just skip that because we know how to use this. All right, here we go. So I've been using Rokus for a long time, so I've got like a bunch of stuff just kind of baked in. And I don't have a Roku channel, but at some point in my life, I'd like to have one. So for example, Twit has one. I don't know if it still works. Yeah, it's a fan-created app. It's discontinued and no longer supported. Okay, never mind. Maybe we'll take that one off then. But you can make your own apps on Roku if you wanted to. So if I wanted to watch NASA, for example, this is still the current one. We watch Lon.TV. Let's see. I'm not sure what's going on here. Maybe not. That might be an old NASA app too, I think. Maybe let's try it again. This could be an older app. Yeah, some of these apps, like I said, I've had on here forever, so these might be some of the older ones. So maybe we'll get rid of that one too. Start cleaning this up a bit. And what I can do is go to the Roku homepage and find more apps, right? So I could go back on their website here, and I could search for, let's see if I can find some of the apps here. Channel Store. Let's see if I can find a new version of Lon.TV. So let's explore this one. Huh. That's the one. It just doesn't seem to be working right now. That's a shame. And it looks like it hasn't synced back up with my thing yet. All right, so why don't we, here it came back. This looks like this is the one. Okay, so I had two NASAs on there apparently. So if I wanted to go watch NASA live, we can watch NASA live whenever we want. And you know what's funny? I never used to get the NASA TV channel on Comcast when I was younger. I always wanted it. Zoran says, can you play emulate? Yeah, so this is exactly the thing. You cannot on Roku. Roku is strictly media. I believe there are some games. Let's see if I can find them. There was a limited time when they had games, but I think they got rid of most of them. Yeah, it's not here anymore. Because there was like a Tetris game you could download. But these are all just content that I'm seeing here now. Let me go back to the store and see if there's anything there. Let's take a look here. Channel Store. I'm just searching for games to see if there's any games. Yeah, I guess there's still a couple of games perhaps that could run on this, but it's really not, you're not going to install emulators. They're really, like I said, they're really geared towards media playback. And that's where I think if you're looking for an inexpensive device, you know, the Amazon Fire TV, even the Fire TV stick at the low end will run a decent NES emulator, right? You could play more app-like things versus just some of these channels and stuff. And Chris said, yeah, back in the day, I remember playing Tetris on it too. I guess they had Pac-Man. They had a few different games. And on the higher end, I think maybe it was the Roku 2 or the first Ultra, the controller would orient itself so that you had the navigation pad as a D-pad, and they had two buttons left and right here that you could use to play games on it. But it was not a very good experience. And they think they just gave up on the gaming thing. And what's funny was when they were giving up on games, Amazon was doubling down on games. They actually had a gaming edition of their Fire TV that they were going with. Now, one of the things that I love about Roku, let's see if I can find it here, is they have an entire like free section. I think they do. Let's see, CBS News. See, mine is like not the default setup. So maybe it's on the Roku channel. Maybe I'm confusing this with the Amazon one. So the Roku channel, they've kind of centralized a lot of free content. So if you pop on here, just about everything on the Roku channel is free. They've got a live TV guide now, so you can pop into this and get like, it's kind of like a Hulu-like experience here. So these are all, I can't play any of this stuff because I'll be doing a copyright issue, but these are all like live channels that just stream constantly. So if you go into the Roku, if you want free, you go into the Roku channel and everything is free. I remember there used to be like a free, they had like a free thing. It was like a free section. But it looks like they may have consolidated that all into the Roku channel. And then Pluto TV is great here. Yeah, there's a bunch of, I've got a bunch of freebies on here right now. So Pluto TV is awesome, Zumo is good, Tubi is good. So when you buy a Roku, you know, you could spend a lot of time watching a bunch of free stuff. It's all advertiser supported. So you're going to have to, you know, deal with the ads. And Roku just bought the Quibi library, so you're going to have a bunch of stuff that's kind of exclusive to their platform. And then they've got a bunch of live stuff in here. And then you can subscribe to different channels through this too. So all of these here you have to pay for, but you can get like integrated into this Roku channel interface. They got some good stuff here. They got Alias. I used to love Alias. Alias 24. We had friends before kids. We had friends that would come over every Sunday night to watch Alias with us. It was always fun to catch up with them. Then we all had kids and we have no time anymore. This is all some of the free stuff on there. You got sitcoms, some old and some new stuff. If you want to watch Alf, you can make sure it doesn't actually start playing. Yeah, 4 seasons of Alf here, all advertiser supported. So it's good stuff. You know, turn it on, hit the freebies, and go to town. And then if you're sick of that, you can go over to Pluto. Pluto's been getting really good. So Pluto is owned by Paramount, or CBS, I guess. And we covered this before. I haven't looked at this probably in a year or so. I got to get off of this before we get hit with copyright here. Hang on. The way this YouTube stuff works is like you get dinged for copyright if like you have 5 seconds of anything up that's not yours. So I'm just going to go here to the guide. So here's like the guide. And again, this is similar. You'll find like a lot of these channels, quote unquote, are on both platforms there. It's nicely categorized. And this stuff just streams constantly, although they also have on demand too. So you can go up to the top, go over to on demand. And then this is all stuff that you can watch whenever you want. You know, so the live thing is just constantly running like live television. But I'll tell you what, like if you're somebody who doesn't really care what you just want to watch something, you're not going to have to pay for anything with a Roku. You buy the Roku, and this is true of the Amazon stuff too. You buy one of these cheap boxes, you look at the freebie stuff, and you are good to go. Let's take a look at Plex. I'm probably going to have to connect my Plex account. This is a good question because I've seen this question now 3 or 4 times, and they will eventually expire, but I've been hearing from people in the chat who are still running with the Roku too. And actually the remote control that we're going to pair up with this in a second works with devices from 8 or 9 years ago. So that's a pretty good length of time, I think. And bear with me here, folks. I'm just going to try to get back into this Amazon app. Maybe it had a glitch. Oh, jeez. Hang on, everybody. I'm just trying to get my account working here. All right, so now I got to type this number in. All right, give me a second. We're going to get this going here. So I cannot control my Amazon chat at the moment because the app keeps knocking me out. Oh, looks like I'm back in. Perfect. All right. Good. Okay, so we're okay. Back to things here. Did I miss anything? There we go. Okay. Chris Allegre says Twitch barely works on supported platforms. So Joseph says, I guess Pluto TV and the Roku channels were competing with one another, but I guess not. Roku's a little more flexible, I think, on things because, you know, their whole approach is they want to earn money from all these different providers coming to them. So they are competing, and at the same time, they're willing to take advertising revenue for Pluto to get some front and center attention because they do have an advertising program. So you've got that. Let me go over to my test files here. So I'm running, this is Plex. So why don't we take a look. This is a 4K H.265 demo file. So let's see how this goes. Now this is over my Wi-Fi because there's no Ethernet option. But that seems to work. That started up pretty quickly. This is Plex. So that looks pretty good, actually. And this is what we went down to the SpaceX launch, for the Falcon Heavy launch. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. We had a lot of fun down there. We got to go to the launch pad, and I'm going to go back down for Inspiration 4's launch. That's probably the next one I'm going to go to. That was the one that I applied for but didn't get it. But they're going to let us come down. They're actually going to cover part of the airfare. So I was really like, yeah, I'll come down. So yeah, this works pretty good. Let's fast forward a little bit. So this is a H.260. Yeah, it's playing the original here. It's 8.5 megabits per second, H.265. So that's working fine. And you can tell too that it's not transcoding because when I fast forward here, it starts up pretty quickly. Right? So it's seems to be working pretty well. Yeah, so Plex actually is working okay here. Let's try some live TV. So let's go over to live TV and DVR. And we'll go to the guide. Yeah, you know, I'll tell you what, for an entry-level device here, this is not a bad experience. I'll give you that. I'm just going to scroll down here. Can I go faster? So I'm going to go down to one of the HD channels. But Plex is not bad. It's actually better than I remember it being. So let me find like the local. We have like an NES Nesson. I can just turn that on. That usually is pretty safe. Actually, we'll do better. We'll do my local CBS affiliate. So this is a 1080i broadcast. So let's see how it does with this one. Now, this is going to boot up my HD home run and then go through all the motions with that. Yeah, it looks okay. Let me take a look at the... So it looks like it's doing some transcoding on the server. So let me go and have it do the original. Because the original is a 1080i. So I don't know if the transcoder is doing anything here. Oh, Frank Cromer says the free channels are under the main menu streaming channels. There's a listing. Okay, let me try that in a second. And so now we have the original quality. Yeah, it says it's coming in at 1080p. So I suspect, let me pull up my Plex dash real quick. Yeah, so it's transcoding the video from 1080i to 1080p, which I guess it probably has to do for deinterlacing. But yeah, actually, Plex seems to be working pretty nicely on here. It feels pretty snappy, which it doesn't usually feel like on these. All right, so Frank Cromer says the free channels are under the main menu streaming channels. Okay, so I'm on the main menu. Let's see. Because I actually installed a whole bunch of stuff already. So you're talking about being on Roku channel maybe? Is that what we need to look at? I think they changed everything. And it could just be because I've set mine up and it's been set up the same way. I should probably just like reset all of my devices and have them work from scratch. Because I could have sworn there was like this free thing that would take you to all the free stuff, which I'm not seeing. I see the Roku channel kind of front and center, but that's oh, no, the home menu to the left. Okay. Oh, that's right. Okay, you're right. There we go. I'm getting old. I used to remember where all this stuff was. There we go. Okay, so when you're on a Roku, sorry everybody, when you're on a Roku, if you go to the home screen here, so if I'm on home and I've got all my channels and stuff, thanks to Frank Cromer, if you go to featured free, this is where you're going to find all of the free stuff. So some of this is on the Roku channel. Some of this is on other stuff. So like, for example, The Moonshiners Season 10 is Discovery Go. But all of this is going to be free, supported by advertising. And then anyone who's not the Roku channel is paying to be featured there. But here's NBC, here's Pluto. So here's a Pluto show. Walking Dead is on Pluto through this interface. Then you've got all your free trials, news and sports. And that's one thing I've always liked about the Roku is that you could buy this thing, not pay anything to anybody, and say, what's free today? And you've got stuff you can watch. You like The Simpsons? You can watch The Simpsons. I think this might be a streaming thing. So that's always been kind of what I've liked about these things. And Plex also has this built in. So, you know, there's the big movement in the TV world is going to this advertiser-supported video on demand. So everybody's going to be offering this stuff. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to pair this remote, the Voice Pro remote here, to the Roku. So why don't we go to Settings. And I think I might actually record this so that I have some B-roll. So we're going to go over to, let's see, hang on a second. I got to see where I got to go. Remotes and devices. Okay, let's try this again. So hit record, hold down the remote. So hold on the home button for like 3 seconds, I guess is what they said. It'll take you right in. Okay, so now I'm going to click remote, click continue. And now I'm going to hold down the button here on the back of this until it starts blinking. All right, it's going to get its firmware update. And then it should be paired up after that. I bet you that's why our other remote locked up. They probably got a firmware update pushed down to it. Okay, so now we've got a firmware update. We need to charge the battery, but we're good to go. You're done. Okay. Hey, Roku, find my remote. It's pretty loud. Hey, Roku, Star Trek: The Next Generation. Boom. Look at that. So you can watch this everywhere. But they don't have did Netflix drop it, or they don't have, or they're not paying to be on here? I was just watching Star Trek the other day on Netflix. Joseph Sakata asked a very good question. If this is the entry level, yeah, so this is like one notch above the entry level. And what I have to do is figure out what's the difference between this and the stick. Because I don't know, to be quite honest with you. This is so this one's the Roku 4. What is this one called? I lost all my stuff. It's all missing. This is the Roku Express 4K. It's getting pretty warm. I will say that it's a little bit hot, which is why they want it out in front of the TV. Roku Express 4K Plus. Why this over the stick? Because that's a good question. I don't know. I don't think this supports Dolby Vision, although I don't know if the stick supports Dolby Vision, so I have to look into that. Because it doesn't seem like there's much of a difference there. All right, so I'm looking at an article here. Roku says the Express 4K Plus is a more powerful processor that supplies performance comparable to the Streaming Stick Plus. Also included is a voice remote, right, which we saw. It adds support for dual band AC Wi-Fi. That's great. Oh, apparently it does support Ethernet if you have a micro USB Ethernet adapter. But it doesn't have the 2x2 MIMO wireless tech of the Streaming Stick Plus. So you maybe get a little bit better wireless performance. Yeah, see, that's a real tough... I don't know why you would go with the stick over this one, to be honest with you. Okay, here's the other reason. I'm just looking through this here. It won't support Dolby Vision. Okay. And by the way, Dolby Vision and Atmos are only on the Ultra to begin with. It does support AirPlay 2. Yeah, let's go look at the... Frank Cromer's being very helpful to me today. Roku.com products/compare. So let's see what the differences are here. Let's pull this up. So I'm going to make this full screen. Roger P. wants to know if I tried out the Stream Bar Pro. No, I did not, but I did ask about it. So maybe we'll try to get that one in after we finish up with these. So I'm going to compare the Roku Express 4K. Actually, no, we have the 4K Plus now, so let's take that one off. We're going to compare this one to the Streaming Stick Plus. So they cost the same. I don't know what smooth wireless is versus long range, but it looks like the only difference here so it's really just the MIMO wireless. So the stick will work better if you've got a more crowded wireless network. Maybe the range is a little bit better. But everything else here is the same. Yeah. I mean, it's really the same product. So what does that mean for the stick? It's crazy. Frank Cromer says, I'm retired. Just make me an assistant. You're in. Come on down. We'll give you a chair and you can assist. So now on the remote, there's a switch here. So if I turn the switch off, so now it says hands-free is off. And if I turn it back on, it's on. So when it's off, I can search, but I have to hit the button. Star Trek: The Next Generation. Actually, it doesn't look like it's working there. Let's see. Hello? Huh, you know something? Oh, this locked up. Yep, it's locked up. I think the player locked up. Yeah, I think the player locked. Yep, there it goes. We locked it up. So maybe the Ultra doesn't lock up. Roger P. wants to know, is there a Roku for standard definition TV? There is one, or there was one. What you want to look for is the Roku Express. And I don't know if they still make it, but if you look for the Roku Express Plus, yeah, it's not for sale any longer. But that one, here, I'll add it to the carousel. If you can find it, the Roku Express Plus. I'll give you an image of it here. So again, not sold anymore, unfortunately, but it came with RCA cables that would work with a standard definition TV. I reviewed this a while ago, and it's great because like you can watch all of your favorite services on an old television. We did that in the review. But that's the one you want to look for. All right, so now we're back here. The remote works again. The old remote still works too, so you can use both of them. Can we do, now I'm going to turn off that. This still works. Star Trek: The Next Generation. So when I switched off the voice search here, I have to push the button to do a voice search. But then when this is on, if I say, hey Roku, tell me the weather. I'm curious. Weather is not yet supported. So you don't get all the stuff that you get with the A word, but you get some basic TV commands. But I'm surprised that Netflix is not showing up on here because I'm pretty sure that Netflix is still working, or still has, Star Trek: The Next Generation on it, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, still there. So it looks like they're not paying to be on the search anymore. Now, that's one of the searches. Let's go back to the other search we were doing before. Now let's see if we can type in something here. Let's see. Star Trek. Oh, there it is now. Okay. Now it's showing up. Now what you can also do, I'm trying to remember how this works. Let's try this real quick. So I'm going to do, because I think what you do with these buttons is you set, I'm trying to remember how I did this. I did a video on this and I don't remember what I did. But you can set, these two buttons get set to a voice command, is how I remember them working. So if we say Star Trek: The Next Generation, and I think what I can do is hold this button down. Yeah. So now, yep. So what I just did is I did a voice search, and then if you hold down one of these buttons, it's going to remember what you asked it to do. So now I have a Star Trek button. Think about that. Can you imagine? Like when you were a kid, you want to watch Star Trek, you can push a button and then here comes Star Trek, just like right there in front of you. Now this is interesting because when I do a voice search for Star Trek, I don't see Netflix, but when I do this search, I do. See? Must be some kind of indexing problem they're having. And I could also do something like Apple TV Plus. And so that's going to launch Apple TV Plus for me. And then I could turn this second button into my Apple TV button. So we could do that real quick. So that's been programmed. So now, if I hit the two button, Apple TV launches. Pretty cool. So I think the big difference here, Jeremy, on the Wi-Fi differences is that one is supporting 2x2 MIMO, which means that it can do the beamforming, and the other one does not. But they both support AC 5 gigahertz and 2.4. So because I noticed when I was setting it up earlier that it found my 2.4 gigahertz network. And I segment my networks that way. So it's how that goes. Mark Dell likes his wireless extra smooth. I cannot do a British accent without insulting an entire nation, so I'm not going to try that, but I'm pretty sure it can do that. Trey Pop says they dropped the one with the RCA. That's a bummer. I'm guessing it just wasn't selling anymore, but I thought that was totally awesome. Zachary says we have the HD Express. Dad didn't want a voice remote. Hey, you know what you can do? You can get this remote and he doesn't have to know about it. That's right. So the entry level one for 25 bucks, the regular Express doesn't have that. Sire says that the TCL TVs are so inexpensive, it might make sense to replace the SD TV. Trey Pop loved doing for it. Yeah, doing YouTube, like it's just so cool to have like this old TV just running all this modern stuff on it. That's what I liked about it. Oh, here's a good question. Which Roku device supports Dolby Atmos and DTS playback? So I don't know if Plex will support that on any of them. The Ultra supports Atmos audio and Dolby Vision, but that's the only one that supports the higher end stuff. I don't have the most recent Ultra. I'll have to check. I have an Ultra. I'll check and see if that one does it. But I think if you're getting into that stuff, get the NVIDIA Shield, because that's the Shield Pro. It's more expensive, but it's going to do that. I think it does that much better. Roger P. wants to know, which streaming devices are the best? I like the Rokus a lot. The reason why I like the Roku is that it's simple. I like how they really guide you into the free stuff. The cost of entry is minimal. You can get one for 25 bucks if you have an HD TV, right? Even at 4K, this is $40. I would put the Amazon Fire TV stick as a close second. And the reason why I would have the Fire TV stick as the second place there is because it will run a lot of Android apps that these won't run. These are media playback devices only, really, nothing else. And for a lot of people, that's all they need. So Bob wants me to know, ask Roku, who does number 2 work for? Okay, should I try that? Let's see. Let's see here. Who does number 2 work for? Didn't understand. Zachary Webb says, we have 3.5 millimeter for everything, so no 5.1 surround sound. That's funny. Maggie Webb says, Roku has the chosen. I almost want to say that Roku has the Roku channel for the Fire TV. I'm not sure about that, but I think they might. Frank Cromer says, Ultra appears to be the only one that supports Dolby Atmos. It is. And I don't know, though, if it supports the true... See, this is the problem, is now like we've got the same name for 5 different things. So you've got Dolby Atmos for your streaming apps, which is different than the Dolby Atmos that you get on Plex through a 4K rip or an actual 4K Blu-ray player, right? So it's super confusing. But right, so this does not do Dolby Vision. It just does HDR10. Ayan wants to know, is the Roku better value or in any way else than the Fire TV stick? I would say the only thing that I have preferred about the Roku versus the Fire TV is that generally they're not pushing you in one direction. You know, they're trying to build their business model around being a platform for all of these big players to advertise on. So, for example, you're going to see ads here on the side, but they're not going to point you in your day-to-day to one specific service or another, right? You set it up the way you want. It's kind of, they used to be more agnostic than they are becoming. But you know, on Amazon, you're going to be steered to Amazon content because the device is designed to make you buy Amazon stuff or rent Amazon stuff. This is, you know, you organize it the way you want, and it'll search for things that way. Mark Dell says, if Roku can't tell you jokes, then it's worse than Bixby. It doesn't tell jokes. It's business. It's all business. It's all it wants to do. Master Billy here asked me, how do I rank these things? Okay, that's a good question. TiVo Stick I would definitely put at the bottom. The NVIDIA Shield, as an enthusiast, I think is the best player on the market and has been for the last 6-7 years, right? 6 years. There's nothing better than an NVIDIA Shield Pro, with the exception of the fact that you can't play Apple TV Plus on it. The Chromecast with Google TV is a real contender. I think it's a very good platform for the price point. But I think if let's put it this way, if my mom called me and said, I need a streaming box, what do I get? I'm going to get her a Roku because it's not going to confuse her. And it doesn't point her in one direction or another. Michael K. Williams wants to know, do I use Harmony remotes? I do not. Actually, I have an old Harmony remote that is over there. It doesn't even have a screen on it. You plug it into your computer and set it up, but they got rid of them. They stopped making them. John says, yeah, I would agree with John here on HD Home Run. Let me install that real quick because I haven't played around with that lately. Let me do a search for that real quick because I am curious how that's working, because this is the one thing that would mess up my plan for my bedroom TV. So I guess I have it installed. And this is where the other players are more powerful, right? So HD Home Run doesn't do any transcoding. It's basically spitting 1080, MPEG-2 video at you. So I have my recordings on here. And let me go over, so this is the live TV. It's going to take a while to get through the menu here. Because I want to pick out a channel that's coming in over MPEG-2. If I can go and do a search here. So I don't have numbers on my remote here, so I can't do that. Let's go this way. Give me a second here. Yeah, so I think HD Home Run is going to struggle because of the nature of the video and the fact that it's not doing any kind of compression. And the interface isn't great either because they rely on a, they've designed their thing around Android TV because that was kind of their first target, was like Windows and Android TV. And because Android is more complex as an operating system, you can have a more complex interface. So the interface is not nearly as good on Roku as it is on their other platforms. And I'm trying to like jump ahead here. I'm not sure how to do that. So I'm trying to get to like one of the HD channels here. So let's see if I can, I'm almost there. I'm just curious as to what the image quality is. So we'll go back to my CBS affiliate here. All right, so now we're tuning in. So this is going to be fun. This is like a pure MPEG-2 signal. This actually looks pretty good. So it is deinterlacing it. So this is a 1080i that's coming in from my local CBS affiliate. The problem is I can't get to the channel very quickly, so I got to talk to them about if I'm missing something on the interface side. But there's no processing going on here. This is straight up MPEG-2, 1080i interlaced. So Ayan here makes a good question, and I think this is exactly why these exist. Because, and I'll give you a great example. I have, and this was what I kicked off the broadcast with earlier. Upstairs in my house, I have a beautiful OLED television. It is a LG C7 or whatever from a couple of years ago. I bought it in, when did I buy that TV? Let me look it up real quick. Because I bought that. That TV is the best TV I've ever owned in my life. It is spectacular. Let me look and see what the, so I got that TV in 2017, so that is 4 years ago, okay? Just about, it's 3.5 years ago. So the TV is only 3.5 years old. However, it doesn't get a lot of the new apps that are coming out for different things. So it doesn't get Discovery Plus. It doesn't get Apple TV Plus, even though the new LG TVs do, right? So right out of the gate, I'm missing a bunch of stuff that I can't watch on that television, even though it's perfectly fine. So people often buy a Roku because their TV has stopped working with whatever app, or the TV manufacturer has abandoned it. So my LG TV, even though it's perfectly functional, has pretty much been abandoned by LG in the sense that if an app requires something more than its operating system can provide, they're not going to do it. So what ends up happening is people start buying Rokus or Fire Sticks or whatever, when they find that their TV stops doing the apps properly. And I think the problem is it's kind of like the business model of how these smart TVs work, because they want to sell, their business model is around selling you a television. They're trying to build it around the same thing that Roku's building it around, which is building a platform, and subsidizing the cost that way. But I think they're still kind of focused on volume. So, so I love my LG television. I mean, I think it's an awesome TV. But it's, not going to cut it. So that's why people buy these things. And that's why these are so low priced, because more often than not, people are buying some little, a box for some old television that's not working so great anymore. Frank Cromer says, wasn't 2017 the time? Yeah, so my TV, the LG that I have upstairs, is a WebOS television. So it's got that operating system, but they just don't support it. All right, let's try something else here. So Rokus support AirPlay. So watch this. I can hit this, and my iPhone will appear on my TV screen after I type my code in. Isn't that cool? Is that neat? And then I could do stuff like my photo album here. So I can pull up photos. So my daughter and I went for a little hike the other day. And this is all through the native, I can even do my live photos and stuff. We went for a little hike in the woods. And this is a 4K video. This is not playing very well. Yeah, that's not working. So I have a 4K. This is a 4K 60 Dolby Vision HDR video. Actually, now it's catching up. There it goes. It took it a second to kind of queue up. But I think the AirPlay 2 is a big feature for Apple users because you can play. Granted, it's got the Apple TV app, but it'll work with anything that supports AirPlay. But it's not doing very well with these 4K videos that I shot out in the field with my daughter. And this one is an HDR movie. It looks terrible. Like, it's very soft. The colors look right, but it's very soft. I'll have to try it upstairs on my TV with the HDR. But it's pretty cool, right? So it does that. It does support Miracast, as somebody pointed out. And then if you've got, so let me disconnect the mirroring here. Because then if you have the YouTube app, it doesn't do this on every app, but hang on. So we're going to put Bob up on my TV here in a second. So if you have, let's see if there it is. So on YouTube, if I hit this, it'll show up like a Chromecast in some apps, not all of them. But here's like Roku Express 4K. And it's going to load up the YouTube app, and it kind of works like a Chromecast. It actually uses the same interface on the YouTube app to toss it over. So you get the Chromecast feature here, even though it's not really a Chromecast. So that's kind of neat, right? If you don't subscribe to Retro RGB, you should totally subscribe to Retro RGB. I love Bob. Bob was on the channel. We had an interview with Bob. I'm going to go visit Bob soon. We're going to go visit the. Hey, let's try this. Here's my live video. Let's see if that's going to work. We're going to go visit the retro game stores. Isn't this like Inception or what? We're going to visit the retro game stores of New York City together. That's going to be a fun video. Oh, that's wild. Let's see. Yeah, it's getting worse. It's going like down and down. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff you can do. So you know, it's got a lot of features that I think are very convenient. So that's what I like about Roku's. And you know, the YouTube interface here is going to feel the same. This is, I haven't signed into my accounts. This is all the basic stuff somebody would see when they first pop in. But it feels pretty snappy. I got to say, like, it doesn't feel, usually like the low-end Rokus like felt slow and sluggish and not very responsive. This one has felt a lot better. So that's been pretty good so far. And it looks like my Apple TV 4K has shipped from Apple. Oh no, never mind. That was the app that I bought for my daughter this morning. Never mind. So we are getting the new 4K Apple TV for the heck of it. All right, so that's that. Yeah, so I think I got enough to work with here. The remote's pretty basic. I mean, it's, you know, your standard remote. Let's see if these buttons work. So if I hit Netflix, what happens? Yep, Netflix comes up. If I hit Disney Plus. Yeah, seems to be working. But it does get really warm. So that's why they don't want you putting it inside something. They want it out. So there you go. All right, let me see if I'm missing a whole bunch of questions and comments here. Michael's talking about the same issues I've been dealing with on these smart TVs, for sure. Ayan has bought a Samsung Smart TV, fairly new and so much slower than my old TV. Doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I don't think they do the interfaces very well. One thing that I think a lot of, or some of the smart TV manufacturers are getting smart in the sense that you buy a Roku TV, Roku worries about the operating system. And I think people are very satisfied when they buy a TV with Fire TV or Roku built in. Google is built into the Sony TVs. I think Sony was smart to just give up on the interface and let somebody else handle it. So some of them are smarter than others. Maggie Web Design here says that some TVs are designed for planned obsolescence. I would agree with that, for sure. Massachusetts in the Amazon chat. I follow and watch me on YouTube all the time. Oh, great. Well, follow me here, because I'd love to get more followers on Amazon. I'm building up a presence here. So if you don't mind, hit that follow button. It'd be great. John has a older 1080p LCD in his bedroom that was never smart. Yeah, I had a similar situation to you. Thank you for the follow, Massachusetts. Right up north from me there. So I had a TV in my bedroom, an old Samsung, you know, it was considered smart when it came out because it could play some stuff over the network, but it didn't have any apps. And so that's what I hooked the NVIDIA Shield up to. David Day, thank you for the follow on Amazon as well. So that's what I hooked the Shield up to. And then now upstairs, I've got a Samsung TV that I bought. It's a 4K TV that I bought 4 years ago during the Amazon Prime Day sale. And it's in the same boat as all my other stuff in that most of the apps aren't coming out for it. So we don't use the smart TV functionality on it at all. We use the Shield when it's plugged in. Frank Cromer, this is exactly the point that I would raise as well. It says that I would rather buy an unsmart TV and buy a new streaming player. And yeah, exactly. I would love to get a TV that's, you know what, if you want that, buy a monitor. You know what you could do? Buy a monitor and get the Roku soundbar, and you're golden. And Joseph says that the updates slow the TV down over time. They certainly do. William's got a PS4. Those work well. That's right. I got to try out the Miracast. That would work with Android. But yeah, these things support everything. Chris Allegretta, the fastest smart TV interfaces in his experience are the Roku, TCL, Samsung, Android TV, and then the Vizio. Yeah, that's true. They're not good at it. And Michael here says that Vizio is awful interface-wise. Yeah, I've never been happy with those. Here's the Inception comments from before. I should try. You know, I don't review TVs for a couple of reasons. One of them is that they're so big and I can't get rid of them. And a lot of times if I get them on loan, you can never get them packed in the box. It sounds stupid, but it's a concern. But we did get the TCL or the Hisense Roku TV last year, so we'll see what they have with that. John says at least Apple added. Yeah, that's the one thing I'm looking forward to is the new Apple remote. The other one never did it for me. Oh, so Joseph wants to know, did I get? Yes, this is the voice remote. Let me give you a closer view of it here, and it does have a headphone jack, and it will work with any 3.5mm headphones. And to verify that, I think I have a pair over here somewhere. I will plug them in real quick and just make sure that it works. Yep, here it is. So I've got like some real like super generic Amazon headphones here. So I'm going to plug those in real quick. And these actually have a microphone on it, but it should work anyhow. So that plugs right in, see? And then I'm going to put them on my ears, and we'll see if it works. All right, so we're going to go. Yeah, I'm hearing it in the earbuds here. Yeah, it works fine. So I can confirm generic earbuds, not a problem. Let me hear. I'm hearing everything through this, and we'll see how the lip syncing works on this too. Let's see. Yeah, sounds fine. Yeah, it's good. It looks good. So yeah, that's the routine there. It'll work just fine with that. So it plugs right in. Oh, can't hear me. Who can't hear me? Alan Roche wants to know, how is mirroring done? Well, it depends on the device that you're connecting. So if you have an Apple device, it is going to be working over AirPlay. If you have an Android device, Miracast, and then like what we saw with YouTube, it doesn't support the Chromecast protocol, but it works with it. So it it'll work with devices that support the Roku through a Chromecasting thing like we did. Jim is here. Hey, Jim, from my neighbor from around the corner. He'll take my old large TV. Good, that's good to know. Be careful what you wish for, because that might result in you having to deal with a lot of stuff. And there we go. Thank you, Chris, for taking care of our spammer there. All right. Yeah, I'm going to go a step further on that. There we go. Yep, he's done. Okay. Thank you for the moderation. You haven't made it in this business until somebody comes in and spams your live stream. All right, so I think we're where I want to be for tomorrow's video shoot. So tomorrow I'm going to shoot my review of this and the remote. I'm going to do 2 different videos. They'll be quick ones. But I think this one's going to do well on the channel because people love Roku on my channel, and they also love accessories for Roku. And I think this is a nice little remote control. So it's good stuff. And then RWD Tech here says that you can get the advanced Roku Ultra Remote, and it will work with cheaper Rokus as long as it's an IR model. And it looks like this one has IR on it as well. Because I think this one, let's go back to the compatibility page real quick. So this one will work. Let me pull, actually, I think it will work with everything. So let's check this out real quick. Let's go back to, so I forgot, I think like Roku's been using radio remotes for a long time, right? But this will work with the Express and the Express Plus, which I know were IR only, right? So this is the compatibility list here. Let me pull off your comment here so people can see. So the remote's going to work with all of this. And it goes back far, even the Roku HD, which I think was super old, right? It works with the Streaming Stick 3600. Now that was a radio-based one, right? But I think the Express, the original Express, was only IR, and the Roku 2, 3, and 4. It looks like the only one it doesn't work with is the original Roku. Everything else seems to work with it. So that's pretty, I think that's pretty cool. I got to give them credit because they don't sell expensive devices. But I think for them, again, the motivation for them is to keep you on their platform. And they've kept everything so simple that their older players don't need an advanced operating system to work properly, right? I would love if there was a Roku developer to talk about the legacy models and how they support that. All right, here's a good question too. Would I recommend the Express 4K or the Streaming Stick Plus? I would go with the Streaming Stick Plus. Functionally, they're very similar. The reason why the Streaming Stick Plus has a slight edge is that it does have better Wi-Fi than this one does, but it's a marginal difference. So this supports AC Wi-Fi, but it doesn't support beamforming, whereas the other one does, and it has a kind of a clever antenna system built in. So that's the only advantage the Streaming Stick has over this one. They're very, very close in functionality. Let's see, if I recall, Rokus don't support DVHDR. That's correct. Only the Ultra does. And I'll make a note of that too. And I would venture to say that their target market are probably people that don't own TVs with Dolby Vision capabilities. Hamza got the Rocky Streaming Stick Plus. I am not familiar with that one. Is it a good device, and do you like the Roku? I do like the Roku quite a bit. And again, I like it because of its simplicity. What I really like about it more than anything is that if you're somebody on a budget and you just want to watch free stuff, you go over here to Featured Free and just start browsing around. There's so much free stuff. So go through here. You'll get introduced to a lot of the apps that you can go to get more free stuff. So, you know, these are all advertising placements for the most part, but if you go and download, like, you know, grab Tubi and Pluto and Zumo and a few of these freebies and just go to town. And I've done a couple of videos on some of the free apps that are out there, and I would definitely refer you to those videos. So there you go. All right. Well, everybody, I think I've accomplished my afternoon tasks here, which was to get all this stuff set up and figured out, which I believe I have been able to do. And tomorrow I'm going to shoot this stuff. My daughters, so I have two daughters. One is turning 5 today, and the other one turns 8 tomorrow. So you can imagine how busy birthday weeks are. So Roger P says, does the Roku have HDMI 2.1? Yes, so these require, yeah, it does 4K 60. Let me double check that, but I'm pretty sure it does. Eric Roke wants to know, why does it have earphones? Well, the reason why it has earphones, and this is what I use it for, I'll get the answer for Roger's question in a second. The reason why you want to have earphones is that, and I am a use case for this. So my wife goes to bed like at 10:30, and I'm usually up buzzing around until about midnight or so. And so sometimes at night, she'll be fast asleep, and I want to watch a little YouTube or something before I go to bed. So I don't want to have the TV on, the noise of the TV on. So I can plug in headphones into the headphone jack here, and what it will do is immediately cut the audio to the television, and then you hear everything through the remote. And what I like about this new remote is that it is working with a rechargeable battery. So this is obviously it drains your batteries faster when you're using this as an audio device. So you can plug it in and keep it charged, and you're good to go. Let me check the Roku Express 4K Plus specs here and just see if I can make sure we got all the details on it as far as what HDMI it supports. Okay, it doesn't specifically say HDMI 2.1, but it does support 2160p at 60 frames per second. So I think that is a requirement of HDMI 2.1. And your TV has to have a HDMI port that supports HDCP 2.2. So you'll need that. This supports that, which is why it works there. But you know what we could do real quick before I go is let me go over to YouTube, and I can try out so I have a video that runs 4K at 60 frames per second. And we can play that real quick and see how that works. So I'm just going to type in, actually what I could do, here's a good use case for the app. So what I can do also is pull up my Roku app. And on the phone app here, what I can do is select my 4K Plus here and go to remote. And now instead of having to type out everything with the remote control, I can just go over to the keyboard here and type in the video I'm looking for. And I can go over here to search. And I'm not finding it. Let me try this again. So let's go back to I have this video I shot in Nantucket with the iPhone 8. There it is. Okay, so let's play this real quick. So this will work like a remote. And what's cool also is if you have headphones connected, you can have it work that way too. Okay, here we go. So now we're playing the video, and let's see if we can get the stats for nerds up here and see how it's doing. There it goes. Okay. Yeah, it looks like it's playing back just fine. You know what I'm going to do while this is going? Let me bring my camera in real quick, and we'll grab a few B-roll shots here just to see if it's able to keep up. Yeah, so what you want to look for here is any drop frames. And so far, none. It doesn't update in real time, so we'll have to keep an eye on it, but I'm watching it. It looks great. And this is a YouTube video, 4K at 60 frames per second. So it's got a good little hardware decoder on here. Yeah, it's playing back just fine. And if you've never been to Nantucket, it is a beautiful place. All right, good. Yeah, I'm not seeing any drop frames. By the way, that little finger there, that's my now 5-year-old who was just 2 when I shot that video. Yeah, it's going fine. Yeah, I think it's good. It's impressive. It really is. As I said, they've really focused on, trying to make a good player. And that's what these are. They're inexpensive. They do nothing but play video. 4K 60 from YouTube, no problem. Looks great. Yeah, looks really good. All right. Well, I'm satisfied with that. Tech Nerd says it's a beautiful day in Connecticut today. It sure is, and I'm going to go take my walk in a minute. Get the dog out for her walk, and then we're going to do a little birthday celebration with my now 5-year-old. Can't believe she's 5, my goodness. And then tomorrow we've got the birthday celebration for the other kid. So we're keeping busy. Excellent. Well, this was great. I appreciate everybody tuning in and helping out. Jackalope says, this or the new... Yeah, this is like a tough question. I'll put it this way. If you are a subscriber of this channel and you are an enthusiast, I think the Google TV is probably going to be better for you. Like I said earlier, if my mom called me and said I need a TV box, I'm going to tell her to get a Roku. That's what and actually, what's funny? Now that I think about it, my mom called me asking about a Roku the other day because she called Comcast because she's paying for all these extra boxes, and they told her to get a Roku. So she's like, "Do you have a Roku?" I said, "Do I have Rokus?" So I'm bringing a Roku over to my mother's house. So that's that. Romeric, happy birthday! Thank you. Yeah, and that ding you just heard was my wife asking me to get Mario Kart set up upstairs for the kids. So I got to run. All right, so I got to run. Let me say goodbye first to my friends on Amazon. Thank you all for tuning in. This was a fun afternoon, and I got my stuff ready, so tomorrow morning I can hit the ground running and get these videos done. And then I'll be back again. I might be streaming tomorrow. We'll see what the schedule is looking like, because I just got in a little more expensive than we usually get, but I got in on loan the new HP tablet 2-in-1. I just had a briefing on it. It looks really cool, so we're going to play around with that tomorrow if I'm able to. So be on the lookout. Set your notifications. Amazon notifies better than YouTube does these days, so you can follow me in either place. And we'll go from there. All right. Well, I'm going to take the dog for a walk, get Mario Kart set up, and then have some dinner. And then I got a meeting at 7 o'clock, a Zoom meeting, so I don't have to leave the house. So yeah, good stuff. Well, thank you all for tuning in, and I will catch you all very, very soon. And thanks to you all for your support. Chris Allegretta, thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated. Your support is always appreciated. So thank you for that and the help on moderation. Mark Dell, our moderator, was here also. So thank you, Mark, for your help. And yeah, we're in good shape. Okay, everyone, have a good afternoon, and I'll be back before you know it. Bye-bye.